Joining us right now on Texans Radio, it's Coach David Culley. Coach, thanks a lot for being with us. Let's talk about yesterday and talk about the Rams as well. I know the offense has been challenged here. You've had a lot of questions about Tyrod Taylor, but let's talk about Mills for a moment here. You like a lot of the things you see. What do you need to see more of and less of out of the quarterback, the way things are working right now on offense?
Well, I just need to see him continue to protect the ball. I thought he did a good job of that yesterday, throwing the ball. He got a lot of completions. We had the one sack fumble that we had where he's just got to protect the ball and keep two hands on it. That happens, but you still got to be able to protect the ball. But for the most part, I feel like that his progression has been very well. As long as he is protecting the football, which he is starting to do right now, especially when he's throwing the football, then we're going to be all right, and this offense is going to be fine as long as our quarterback continues to do that.
Coach, not saying that this is the situation at all, but you've kind of talked about being around. You've seen some things when the quarterback position isn't totally and completely settled. How does that impact the team?
Well, I think our quarterback situation is settled, other than the fact that our starting quarterback is injured.
Yeah.
The backup quarterback has to come in and play.
Right.
Obviously, he's the backup. He's not the starter. But when that happens, is the mentality that you always got to have is that obviously we're going to run the same things. We're going to do the same things. The offense is not going to change because it is a rookie quarterback. We're still going to do the same things that we've been doing. But when that happens, is you just got to keep playing the way you've been playing. You got to play better. You got to understand the situation, and you just keep moving forward.
When you have a rookie in there, and I've kind of said this to Marc a couple times on the broadcast, when you're a veteran, is there an even higher level of attention to detail and of that sort that you have to have? Because it is a rookie back there. He may not know. I mean, you should have pretty high attention to detail as it is, but when you have a veteran quarterback, sometimes it's the veteran quarterback that kind of gets you where everybody needs to go. But when you have a bunch of veterans, what's their extra added responsibility to aid and help that rookie quarterback?
Well, the first thing is that when you have that veteran back there, is he's been there and done that. So there's no feeling of anything that happens that we're not going to be able to take care of.
Right.
But when you have the rookie in there, the guys that are around him has to have that same feeling, and you have to be able to execute and do the things that you normally do. The thing that happens with a rookie as opposed to having a veteran quarterback in there at times is that when bad things happen with the rookie quarterback, you know, usually it's the first time he's having to respond to those kind of things.
Sure, yeah.
With a veteran quarterback, he's been there and done that and know that, okay, bad play. Forget that play. Let's move on to the next play and know exactly what we got to do. And that entire offense gets that same feeling.
Yeah.
How important is this playing time that Mills is getting moving forward? Is he able to learn from these things, even though you're not getting the results you want in the last couple of games? You're not getting the ball into the end zone. What is the learning process like and the intake that he has being out there playing?
There's nothing, Marc, like being on the field and getting that experience, and he's getting it. He's learning some tough lessons right now, but that's part of the learning process. And he has gotten better and better and better every week, and he's going to continue to get better and better every week while he's playing. And he's just got to continue to do that. And in the meantime, everybody around him just got to keep playing better and keep doing their job. And then it makes his job so much easier, especially being a rookie quarterback, to move forward.
Not that there are any easy defenses out there to play, but he's faced the Bills, the Colts, the Cardinals. He's faced some pretty tough defenses. I mean, he's not facing Colorado and, Oregon State and in Oregon. I mean, he's facing some pretty good defenses along those lines. But, Coach, your defense yesterday, especially the front, I want to focus on the front because we've seen Kyler Murray play. He runs around. He makes plays. He does those things. I felt like yesterday he was doing that even more so because your guys were doing some good things up front. What did you think overall when you went back and you watched the tape today or last night whenever we got home of what the defensive front was able to do yesterday?
We knew going into the game that you had to put pressure on him. We'd love to have kept him inside the pocket, but obviously we had some times where we had him inside the pocket and he still got out of there. But when he did get out, we were still chasing him. We ended up getting some sacks with him outside the pocket. We made him make some throws that he didn't want to make when he was outside that pocket. I thought they did a really good job of keeping the pressure on him and not letting him get comfortable. Although he did make a couple of plays on us, but I thought for the most part that we did exactly what we needed to do going in there to be able to get him off his spot and to make it hard on him to do what he did.
What are you seeing from Jonathan Grenard right now? Because young player, 6 sacks, leads the team. And it's not just about sacks. We know that. But that's a real shining play. It's a flashy play. And he's doing some other things to help you out as well. What are you seeing from him, Coach?
Well, just like you mentioned, it's not just about the sacks. It's about him playing his position. It's about him playing his gap. He's not only doing a good job in getting sacks and putting pressure on the quarterback, he's doing a good job in the run game. And basically that's important to be able to play that position the right way. It's not always about – he does a lot of things that don't show up in the sacks, in the stats that are very important for us. And I think those other guys are obviously doing the same things, and that's why you're starting to see us get pressure. That's why you're starting to see those guys each week just getting better and getting better.
You said something, Coach, in your press conference that it's sticking with me, and you were asked about kind of how to deal with this losing streak that we're on and all that, and you said, I've been around. I've seen some things. Now, we kind of talked about that with veteran quarterbacks too, but you've been around. You have seen some things. How are you sort of maintaining the course, even as tough as it is? Because at some point, for all the hard work you put in, the validation ends up being a W on Sundays. But for you, how are you staying the course amongst what's going on, and how much has your experience kind of led you to for you to get through that tough period?
I know, John, that we're doing the right things.
Yeah.
We got to do it better. We got to coach it better. And I believe once we get to that point where we finally get through to our team consistently that this works. And it will work because I've seen it work.
Yeah.
And they trust us. They're working their butts off. They know that at some point when we correct the mistakes that we've had, I mentioned in my press conference, penalties.
Yeah.
It's been an ongoing thing. It's going to get eliminated. They're going to get eliminated. And then the big plays of us doing the right things and being in the right place to not allow that to happen. And obviously when you get to those things and you get those things corrected, and we're going to continue to do that. We do it every week in practice. And eventually when we put those things together and we play as a team, complementary football, the W will come.
And the penalties, Coach, they vary, right? Some are effort penalties, maybe a little over-exuberance at times. Others are mental penalties. You had one with the chop block when you're 3rd and 2 at their 31, and now you go to 3rd and 17, and all of a sudden it's 4th and 17. You punt. Now you got the safety after that, which was nice. We'll get to that. But some of those penalties are really damaging to your offensive possessions.
They are. We couldn't be in a better position at 3rd and 1. And we go from 3rd and 1 to obviously getting a first down to actually not being able to keep the chains moving and doing what we need to do, and that's been an issue. And basically, I wouldn't say that was an effort thing there. It was just something that had happened. He went down. That was more of a fundamental thing than it was an effort thing.
Okay.
And then for the most part, that's where some of those penalties have been. It's been a fundamental thing. Just like when guys hold. Guys hold sometimes when you're not in the right position, when you're playing too high. And we're working on making sure we get better at doing those things. And I think when you do those things and you get those things corrected, good things happen. And we don't have that happening, and we're not playing behind the chains like we've been playing behind the chains.
Well, Coach, you had mentioned a couple times about special teams coming off a couple of tough moments the last couple of weeks. But yesterday, Dez has a couple of really good returns. You down the ball at the 1-yard line that ends up turning into safety. Cam hit a couple of punts that were just absolute rockets. It felt like the special teams yesterday played much, much better. What do you think overall of that unit from yesterday?
We were better. And those kind of things, it actually, just like the safety would have never happened if it hadn't been for the punt and the coverage that happened there.
Right.
A couple of punts that he has put them in positions where they had to go on the long way.
Yeah.
We had them backed up. That's all part of playing complementary football. And I thought yesterday we was better. When Dez came in as a punt returner, he gave us some juice that we hadn't had before. He's done that during preseason, and hopefully going forward that we continue to do that.
Well, you have to be happy coming home because you've played better at home. You've scored at home. It's just been a better situation. So after back-to-back weeks on the road, Coach, where it's been a bit frustrating, what's your reaction to coming back to NRG Stadium?
It's always good to get back to our fans here, which are some of the best in the game. And obviously we've played our best football when we're at home. Obviously we haven't got the results every time at home that we wanted. But we've been in those ball games, and we're going to continue to do. We're looking forward to being home. We're going to correct those things that need to be corrected. And this week against the Rams, we're hoping to turn that thing around.
Coach, with the Rams, I'm sure you haven't gone too much into them yet, just focusing on Arizona. But just what you know about them heading into this game. Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp is, I know you have appreciation for receivers. What he's doing to receivers is just amazing this year. And that guy number 99 is pretty darn good on the other side, Aaron Donald. What do you kind of think about the Rams as you start getting ready for this week of prep for them?
It's a complete football team. It's a playoff caliber football team again, and we've played a few of those.
Yeah.
And basically, we look at it as this. It's the Rams. They've got a very good, one of the best defensive linemen in the game. He's been that way through his whole career. They got a quarterback that's experienced, has been there. They've got an offense that's been very, very good.
Yep.
But the point is this is the NFL, John.
Yeah.
I mean, every week you play, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
So, and then basically what's going to happen is when we do the things that we need to be doing, then what they do is not an issue. It's all about what we do, and we just got to get ourselves corrected.
Yeah, you've played the top 4 defenses in the league. So there are no excuses or anything, Coach, but obviously it's been a very tough schedule. But that's bound to make you stronger as you get to the rest of the schedule, right? I mean, the Rams are going to be very tough, obviously. But like you said, everybody's tough in the NFL, but you're learning with the best on the opposing sideline.
There's no doubt. And basically, as we move along through the season, we're not going to play any better football teams than we've already played with some of those teams. And our young guys are getting valuable experience. They're understanding what it's like to play playoff caliber football teams. You find out what you have to do to be a playoff caliber football team by playing those teams. And basically it's been a good learning experience for our guys. And we just look forward to being able to correct the things that we're doing and move forward and get it flipped.
Coach, Aaron Donald, we mentioned him a little bit. He's such a unique player because he's shorter. He's not as big as most defensive line, but he's just an absolute terror. And I remember we played him in 2017. Marc and I talked about this, like, well, man, what do you do? Like, how do you prepare for a guy like that? Over your years, who's been a guy that you had to prepare for where you're like, man, I don't know how we're going to prepare for this particular guy? Has there been a player that you sort of look at and go, everything that we do, this guy seems to beat it on the defensive side? Has there been a player or two over your years that you've faced that have kind of fallen in that category?
You just mentioned one.
Yeah.
That we're getting ready to play.
Yeah, that guy.
I mean, I'm talking about he's as good as there been.
Yeah.
During that time. And I'll go back and say this, when I was on another team.
Yeah.
JJ was the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean there's a number of guys, but those are 2 guys that obviously you have to account for.
Right.
And we're ready for that.
Coach, what's the biggest thing with Tyrod in practice this week? Is it how he holds up physically recovering from injury, or is it getting back in sync with the receivers? Which are you really looking at here? It's got to be a combination, perhaps.
It is a combination, Marc, and it's a combination of him being able to go out and physically do the things that he has been doing with the hamstring not being an issue. The second thing is, as you just mentioned, is him getting back in sync with our offense and running the offense and doing things. And it's a combination of those 2 things. And then we'll make a decision as the week goes along on whether we feel like where he's at, and then we'll make a decision as the week move along.
Coach, running game against the Colts, 124 yards yesterday, a little bit of a struggle. We've talked about there have been some penalties, there have been some things fundamental you talked about. Sometimes you're just not in the right position because your fundamentals aren't right. Running game wise, going against a Rams group that's pretty darn good. What do you want to see from that particular group? Yeah, I know we want 300 yards rushing. I mean, everybody does, but in getting to that 300 yards rushing that hopefully we're going to get to, what's going to be the key? What do you want to see from that group?
I'll take 150.
Yeah.
I'll take that 300.
Not greedy,
I'll take
Johnny.
150. We're not Illinois. We ran it 70 times last week.
Right. Just consistency.
Yeah.
Just consistency. We've had some guys in and out. We've had to move some guys because of injury. Just getting consistency and continuity. And once we get that, then things are going to be fine. We've had it.
Yeah.
And we just got to get back to having that consistency.
All right, you said that you practice with crowd noise, right, to get ready for an environment like Arizona. But I want to, and obviously being at home, it's going to be a different situation. But it brought something to mind, Coach, because now we sort of take it for granted that teams play music at practice, right? You've been around the game for a while. What was your reaction when that became a thing? Because I remember the exact day we did it out here like 8 years ago, and we never had done it before. For you, that must have been all right, I guess now we're playing music at pro football practice and college too, by the way. And maybe it started there. I don't know. What was your reaction?
What are we doing is the first thing I said. That was my reaction. And then as you explain it, what ends up happening, and I think it got started too with, I know my first situation with it was when Chip Kelly was at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
With that up-tempo offense, for a concentration, focus thing, they just had music going all the time because they were going all the time. And it kept you focused. You had to listen, and you had to keep focused on what was happening with the quarterback because everything was done at the line of scrimmage, similar to what Arizona did.
Right.
And basically it got to something where you don't even hear it or recognize it, knowing that it's going.
You just tune it out.
You tune it out, but what ends up happening is in between plays, there is something about having that music on, especially when we hear some of that 70s soul that you talk about.
Yeah. Is that what you'd want to hear? I mean, if they gave you the aux cord, they gave you the aux cable, what would you put on?
Well,
and do you get the opportunity to pick the music?
I do not pick the music. I allow our players to pick the music. I am very diverse when it comes to music. I like all music. We hear it all out there. We've got a variety of different genres that everybody likes. And basically, when it comes on, there are certain things that they play that actually gets me a little bit going more so than other things because some of the stuff that they play out there, I'm not even really sure what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know? So, but for the most part, I mean, it's just a thing where once you start, you just kind of tune it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important that they like it, though, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly right.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, the crowd noise is different, though, because if you just blare crowd noise, doesn't that do the same thing as far as needing to concentrate through that?
It does. And the thing is about it is the crowd noise basically comes when, for example, when you're away, when you're on offense, we put the crowd noise on. Defensively, sometimes at home, we put the crowd noise on simply because that's when our crowd is at their loudest when we're on defense, when they're on offense. So it's a combination of things right there when you use it.
All right, during practice, we see all the training camp practices all the way through, right? During the season, most NFL teams, they have the open portion, and then you guys get to work with the secret sauce or whatever it is. How up-tempo is that during the week, Coach? How intense is it as far as full speed versus the choreography of things? We have to line up here and do this and just making sure you have the plays right for that week.
Well, it starts on Wednesday when we get out there. I mean, it is intense from the day you step on the football field on Wednesday. And then on what happens is on Wednesday we do a base day. On Thursday it's a third down day, and on Friday it's red zone. So basically all of those are very intense. We're basically the thing about Wednesday is this is the first time you're putting in the offense. So you kind of have a little bit more focus there because it's new. It's the first time we're hearing it. And then on Thursday, you hear some of the same things, plus you start to hear some of the things that we're doing in a third down. And then on Friday, it becomes red zone. And it's just a combination all the way through practice.
Coach, from a physicality standpoint in practice, I know there's a point, I think, in the season where you can't hit. I know that's probably later at some point. But once you get to this point of the season, how valuable does it become to continue to be able to hit in practice as guys get banged up a little bit? How important is it to still continue to be physical in practice, even though those guys are kind of being put through it on Sunday, in your opinion?
John, there's a way to practice without having to have pads on and to be physical. As you get in the middle of the season, you've played 7, 8, 9 ball games. Yeah. You've been out on the field. You've done it. And basically at that point in the year, it becomes more about executing what you're doing than it comes about the physical part of it.
Right.
Tackling is always something you want to do, and basically we only do that when we're in pads.
Right.
And you know the way the rules are right now, we can only go pads one time a week, and we have a limited number throughout the year. So we just kind of get a pulse of our team and decide when we feel like we need to use them. And as you get later on in the year, you use less and less of those.
Was that a hard thing for coaches to grasp onto at some point? Because it's kind of been a gradual thing over the years where, I mean, I think everybody hit forever. And then the CBA came along and was like, wait a second, we can only hit one day? I just remember there being a lot of kind of vitriol out there like, how are we going to tackle? We're not hitting in practice, and they're going to expect us to hit in a game. It's kind of been a gradual thing over the years to kind of obviously take care of players' bodies and take care of their bodies for longer. But as a coach, and you've kind of seen that arc, how did you kind of accept that along the years where you weren't going to hit every day like you used to maybe 10, 15 years ago?
Well, that's because it starts in training camp. In training camp, you have a large number of days where you can do the contact that you need to do.
Right.
And basically it is isolated, and we're focused on that during that time. And then as you get into the season, you get those days of the week that you have, And basically, you just get a big carryover from there.
Yep.
And as I said before, as you get into the season, it becomes a thing more about execution than it is about hitting. But you just adjust. You adjust to it. We're all under the same rules.
Yeah.
So it's all the same for all of us.
As you were going through it, though, when those rules were being changed, how did coaches respond to that? Were coaches like, we're soft?
Well, I wouldn't say it's soft, but obviously we understand the reasons why they went that way.
Yeah.
As a coach, you think we always felt like they went too far.
Yeah.
But when you look at the history of why and with the injury thing and with all the things that have happened with players in the past, you kind of understand why.
Of course.
And then the game has changed.
Yeah.
And the way we go about it has changed. The off season has changed. You don't get to do as much in the off season as long as you used to get. When I first came in the league in 92, 93, I mean, there was no rules.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have training camp for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And used to practice 3 times a day.
Right.
And,
with pads on twice a day.
And it was just normal.
Yeah.
But obviously with the game has changed now because of the injuries and because of the things with the concussions and those kinds of things. And you understand that. We do what coaches do. You adjust.
Right.
How hard is it to coach the look team, to get them to impersonate the opponent that you're facing? And I got to imagine that's really important to get right. So how do you handle that, Coach?
It's very important. Our guys do a great job of doing that. These guys are pros. They also understand not only when they're doing the look team, when they're doing the look team, they're actually basically getting better by doing the things that some of the things that we do and things that plays that we run are stuff that we do. It's just a name change. But basically, the guys that are on our look team are basically getting better by doing the look team simply because they're getting the reps that they normally wouldn't get with our team. So it's been good. There's never an issue in coaching it. Those guys do a great job. They give us a great look. I'll tell you, there's been times when our look team has been better than some of the plays better than some of the teams we've played.
They know the plays.
That's
All
right.
Amity Bank Ask Coach question of the week, and the listeners like it when we branch out here. So, Coach, Sunday is Halloween as the Rams come in. So I would imagine it's Kids' Day, too. So people are going to come to the game dressed up, whatever. Can you share a Halloween costume or two that you might have had as a kid that you like, or maybe as an adult? I don't know.
Well, I do know this. There are basically 2 characters that I've seen. I'm into the horror movies.
Right.
My wife is into the horror movies. But there's 2 characters that I've seen, and I've probably watched all of those. And there's been, 10 or 15 of them. But Freddy Krueger, one.
Yeah.
And the other one is Jason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hockey
mask.
Hockey mask. I mean, there's something about that. First of all, he never talks.
Right.
And there's something about that, and then just the things that he's done doing that. I mean, scary. I can remember being in Philadelphia. You talk about Halloween. We had an open date. They have a street up there I think it was called South Street. And on Halloween, down that street, it was a one-way street. And Halloween day and Halloween night, you could be walking down that street, and you may have Freddy Krueger jump out on you walking down the street. Or you may have Jason or somebody with that axe or whatever coming down the street. I mean, it was unbelievable. And they had a Halloween, what do you call them, those Halloween things where you go to
the haunted house?
The haunted house.
Yeah.
They had one in Philly at the Eastern State Penitentiary that was one of the best in the country.
At the penitentiary?
At the penitentiary. Now, the penitentiary is closed. As a matter of fact, Al Capone used to be housed at that penitentiary.
Really?
Yes. But it's closed. But they made that thing into a haunted house. And I actually took my daughter one time to it. And I got halfway through. I had to get her out. She refused to go any further. And also, I almost took a swing at one of those people that came out on me. I got scared so bad. But again,
you enjoyed that, though.
I enjoyed it, but I realized I probably was going to get sued had I hit the guy during that deal.
Okay, Halloween, and a lot of times you're not at home to give out the candy. That's one of my favorite things to do is I sit up front, I have my phone, I'm watching a game, and I just give out candy. A, what are you giving out as your candy? And B, what candy would you want?
Well, I'm a Hershey's chocolate guy.
Okay,
I mean, and it doesn't matter what product they put out. And I'm always into the miniatures.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason the miniatures is I can throw down many with those miniatures.
Okay, room temperature or from the refrigerator?
Refrigerator, bar none, John.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're a chocolate lover, there's nothing better than cold chocolate.
Gotta be. I've gone through. I can't believe I'm going to admit this. My wife and daughter are gone, so bear with me. I had 3 of these big Hershey's bags with the little tiny ones. I've gone through 3 of them this season. That I just go back to the fridge and just keep. It's terrible.
Oh,
I shouldn't do it.
Just remember this: my office upstairs is 724. It's always open.
Okay.
I've got a bowl
Coach.
up there, a Hershey's bowl. You are always welcome.
I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Oh,
That
my
cold chocolate,
goodness.
you can't beat it.
Trick or treat.
Cannot beat it.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot for joining us.
You're
Good luck
welcome,
this week.
fellas. Thank you.